Welcome to Tupperware Cooking with Chef Mike. Today we're going to make shrimp burgers with a dill and caper sauce. And this is a great summertime recipe, but you know what's really great? It doesn't matter how the weather is or whether it's cold or hot outside, because I'm using the amazing Tupperware MicroPro Grill. Yes, this is a grill that goes in your microwave and browns. You can get nice top browning from things like baked ziti to apple crisps, or in this case, you can actually get grilling for fish and beef and chicken. So I'm going to move that out of the way because the first thing I need to do is make that dill caper sauce. I want it nice and cold by the time our burgers are ready. So to make the sauce, I'm going to use one of my favorite products, which is the Power Chef, and this little chopper is incredible. The blades are really sharp, and they come with this plastic guard, which is why I have it on here. And I'm going to take a clove of garlic, and I'm doing that for your benefit. If it was really me at home, I'd probably use 2 or 3. And I've got some capers, hence the name dill caper sauce. And I've got some herbs in our fridge smarts. I've got some fresh dill, and that's, I would say, about 1/3 of a cup, but measurements aren't important at this point. It's all about taste. And in another fridge smart, I've got some pre-washed and dried Italian parsley. It's really important when you're chopping your herbs that they be washed and thoroughly dried, because when you start chopping them wet, they just sort of turn into a paste, and I don't want that to happen. So now I'm going to take the herbs and garlic and give it a quick chop. Whoop. And as you see, that gives you a really nice chop. I don't want it too fine. I want there to be some texture in the finished sauce. Okay, now to this, I need a little bit of lime. And I'm going to use our Zest N Press gadget. The reason it's the Zest N Press is because it's got a little zester built in. And if you've ever done zesting at home before with one of those other type of zesters, when you're scraping on the counter, you end up having to chase all of your zest around the kitchen. This is awesome. You're just going to take your lemon or your lime or your orange and just scrape it right over the top. And as you see, it is taking off the skin. This is where the real flavor in citrus fruit comes from, is that very thin colored skin. But you don't want the white part because it's very bitter. And as you see, all of that zest has gone nicely right inside here, so I don't have to chase it off the counter. So I'm going to add that. And now I'm going to juice my lime. And this is the press part of the Zest N Press. So again, if you've ever used one of these before and used it incorrectly, you knew right away. Intuition would tell you that you would put the lime in this way, but that's exactly opposite of how it should be. You want to let this be your guide. Put your lime in and give it a squeeze. And look how much juice comes out of that half lime. And I'm not using brute force here. I'm going to only use half of my lime right now because I'm not sure how limey that's going to be. If I need more, I can add it. Okay, now I've got some horseradish. This is definitely to taste. My taste is a lot. Yours might not be. And then I've got some mayonnaise. And I know mayonnaise is a very subjective topic, especially here in the South. So I won't even mention brand names because I don't want to start another civil war. Just suffice it to say I'm using the brand that I like. My kitchen, my rules. Okay, and then I'm going to add some full-fat Greek yogurt because I can. If you prefer to use a lighter version, you can do that too. But as we've talked about many times before, I am the full-fat, full-sugar, full-garlic kind of guy. So I don't do reduced anything. All right, so now I'm going to mix this up just to get all of this incorporated. Once I get the blade to cooperate. There we go. Locked and loaded. Okay, now for the final touch, making a mess here, salt and pepper, or pepper and salt, and a little bit of that spicy stuff that most people like. Again, to taste. I err on the side of spice. get it all back in there. Okay, that's it for the sauce, but I don't eat anything that I don't taste first. So I'm gonna give it a little sample real quick. It actually does need a little bit more lime. So let me zest juice part of. That should be enough. And I can save the rest for later. So let's spin this around one more time. That's why you've got to taste things while you're making them. Because how are you going to know what you're serving your guests if you don't even know how it tastes? All right, so I'm going to remove the blade and get every last little bit that I can. I don't want to waste this. Now it looks a little bit loose right now. It will tighten up when we rechill it in the refrigerator. So what I'm going to do now, the PowerChef comes with a seal. So all I have to do is pop the seal on, get it sealed up, and I'll pop this in the refrigerator so that it's nice and cold to put on our burgers. Okay, now it's time to make our shrimp burgers. And I've got, if you buy frozen shrimp, which is perfectly fine for this recipe as long as you thaw them first, you can use 2 10-ounce packages of already peeled and deveined shrimp. But I happened to be at the market yesterday and they had some beautiful fresh shrimp, so I went ahead and did that for you. So I'm going to take half of my shrimp and I'm going to roughly chop it by hand. You could put all of it in the PowerChef, but it really is a very efficient chopper and I don't want to have paste burgers. So I like to take half of the shrimp and just sort of roughly chop it like this. It adds texture so that the burgers have more of a burger feel. Whereas if you did them in the PowerChef entirely, they would just be kind of grainy. And we don't want that, especially not using these nice shrimp for that terrible purpose. So I'm just going to roughly kind of chop these up. And then I'm going to add those to my bowl. All right, so that's shrimp part 1. Now, I'm going to take the remaining shrimp and eventually chop them up. But the first thing that I'm going to do is take some garlic and some more fresh Italian parsley. And give it a quick chop in the chop and prep. This is the PowerChef's little brother or sister. And this I want to be pretty fine, so I'm going to take it down just a little bit more. All right, that's good. Remove the blade. And I'm just going to go ahead and add this to the shrimp. Okay, that's our second round. Now we bring in the bigger guns, and in the PowerChef, I'm going to chop, I'm going to say about 3/4 of a small sweet onion. Get it locked and loaded. And properly aligned. These things happen to professionals too. And I want these pretty fine as well. If you find a piece that's a little stubborn and doesn't want to chop, you can just take the whole PowerChef, give it a shake. There we go. All right, now those are chopped. Blade back in. I'm going to add the rest of my shrimp that have not been chopped. 1 egg white, that's my binder. You know, that's the thing that I hate about most things like crab cakes or shrimp cakes. They're just too gummy because people add breadcrumbs and all this other stuff that just clogs them up. I don't need that, but the egg white will actually act as my binder and hold them together nicely in the grill. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. And I'm really going to chop these up. start kind of slow, and then you can build up momentum. Let's take a look. It's not quite there yet, but at this point, I'm going to add some Old Bay seasoning, because in my book, you cannot have any seafood or shrimp or shellfish without some Old Bay. I'm also going to add some salt and some black pepper. And we're going to go all the way to puree. Here we go. All right. Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So now you see we've got a good, thick, kind of a shrimp paste. So I'm going to add that to my other ingredients. And the last thing that I'm going to do is add about half of a red bell pepper that I've already cut into dice. You don't want them huge, but you don't want it too small. This again is going to add some texture and some crunch when you bite into the burgers. So now I'm just going to fold everything together. Now this mixture is kind of loose, so what I like to do is chill it. In a perfect world, I like to chill it for a couple of hours just to let it firm up a little bit. But if you don't have that much time, you don't really necessarily have to. But today we're going to. So once you've got it thoroughly mixed like this, I'm going to pop this in the refrigerator for a couple of hours, and then we'll make the burgers. Okay, now it's time to make our burgers for the MicroPro Grill. I've got our hamburger presses here, which are great because we're going to get uniform sized burgers each time. And these are very convenient to use. So what I'm going to do is, this will yield 4 burgers. So I'm just going to take a nice spoonful of the chilled shrimp mixture, get it in my press. And it's got a nice little collar on here so that it helps to form the burgers. So you don't want to overload it too much. And then you take the plunger and just press down gently, and that will form and seal your burger in there. So there's our first one. Get ready for the next one. Remove the collar. And these could actually be refrigerated for 2 or 3 days if you weren't ready to eat them right away, which I can't imagine happening. But if that were the case, you could. I don't recommend freezing them because that defeats the whole purpose of the already thawed shrimp. And you should never refreeze previously frozen anything, whether it's shrimp or beef or chicken, especially fish, because the ice crystals will just destroy the texture. Okay, I'm putting my first burger right in the MicroPro Grill. And since I've already used this particular form, I'm going to use it to make the next one. Now these make fairly large burgers, so for that reason I can only legitimately fit 2 in at a time. So I'm going to do it in batches, and they only take 5 minutes to cook, so it's not like you're going to have to wait that long. All right, go ahead and press down, seal the burger, remove the seal and the collar. If these were really, really, really cold, then they would come out a little more easily. But you know what? You can just reshape them if they don't look exactly the way you want. Okay, let me clean my hands up a little bit. And so there we have our 2 burgers ready to go in the grill. And because we are grilling, remember the MicroPro Grill can serve 2 different cooking purposes. If the cover is placed like this, where it's flush with the top, that's casserole position. This is when it becomes like a little toaster oven. So that's when you want to use it for baked macaroni and cheese to get that nice browned breadcrumb topping, or baked ziti or apple crisp. But I'm grilling today, so you need to give the cover a quarter turn. And as you see, it drops below the upper rim. Now it's in direct contact with the food, top and bottom. And this will heat up to 425 degrees in only 2 minutes. And I'm going to get direct grilling contact on both sides. So now into the microwave for 5 minutes. That's all it's going to take. And in 5 minutes, we'll be ready to eat. Okay, we're just waiting for those next few seconds for the burgers to be finished. Remember, they've only been there for 5 minutes, and they're going to be perfectly done. There's the sound. And notice that I don't need oven mitts because the handles are cool to the touch. The inside is 425 degrees, so don't go reaching in there. Let's all take a look. Ooh, look at those. That is beauty. So I've got my perfectly done shrimp burgers. I know that they're done because when I press on them, they're firm, but they're not hard. They're very juicy. They do give off a lot of liquid. That's normal, so don't be alarmed when you see all that liquid. So I'm going to serve our first one. And unlike most fast food restaurants, in this case, we've got more burger than bun. That's a good thing in my book. All right? And I'm going to take our other burger and put that on its bun. And now I'm going to take this really wonderful dill and caper sauce that we made. I cannot tell you how good this stuff is, and it's really good on a baked potato. It's good by the spoonful. You could even use it for a dip. In case you didn't know, I like it a lot. All right, so there's our first burger. And we're just going to garnish it up with some lettuce, tomato, and some red onion for some additional crunch and bite. You have no idea the restraint that I'm exhibiting here, not wanting to pick that up and eat it right now. Okay, get our second one ready. That's it for our shrimp burgers. 5 minutes to cook, utterly delicious. And if you're not a shellfish fan, or if you have allergies, you can substitute salmon in exactly the same proportions. Either way, you win. All right, that's it for this episode. And remember, you don't have to be a chef to cook like one with Tupperware.